Hi, Second Cavalry. Brother Tim here with another episode of Civic Corner. Hope everybody's doing well. And today's episode is entitled Pushing the Limits. I wanted to highlight a recent egregious public display of non-compliance, hostility, and simply, as the culture would say, playing in the face of the judicial branch by the executive branch. So on our recent episodes, we correctly predicted that the judicial branch will be the battleground for our democracy over the next 4 years. But what we were beginning to see are true fights between this administration and the judges of the judicial branch. And so today I wanted to highlight a case that is truly shocking. It just recently happened, and it happened so fast. I just couldn't believe I was really listening and watching what I was hearing. So the case in question is called JGG versus Trump, which was filed in the district court in the District of Columbia, which is Washington, D.C., and the federal courts in Washington, D.C. And so we really have to pay attention to this. I want you to really see how fast things could get out of order when the executive branch does something so fast and so swift that maybe the courts weren't really ready to, let's just say, enforce their power and force their check on the other branch. Friday, March 14th. That's a Friday. Keep that in mind. It's a Friday. March 14th, 2025, President Trump issued a presidential proclamation ordering the immediate removal from the United States of alleged, and I repeat, alleged. So that means they think, we think you're this, we think you're that. Members of a notorious Venezuelan gang and use a 1798 wartime law as the basis of his order. I said it, yes, 18th century law. We're in the 21st century. So not quite 300 years ago, the law's only been used 3 times in history, and definitely all in wartime. But he used this 1798 wartime law as the basis of his proclamation to remove these alleged gang members. And so there it is. That happened on a Friday. So on early Saturday morning, 5 Venezuelan nationals who were in U.S. immigration custody filed a class action lawsuit challenging the government's authority and the impending actions. They also filed an emergency application for a temporary restraining order, asking the court to block any removals from the United States. So we're all used to business hours, right? Monday through Friday, 8 to probably 5, 8 to 4:30 some places. But the courts are technically open all the time. You just need to find a judge. Keep that in mind. The proclamation happened from the president on a Friday. The people that felt like they would be affected by this immediate order, filed for court relief on Saturday. So you're like, what? Saturday? The courts are open Saturday? Yeah, they're open. They know how to get in touch with a judge, and because rights can get violated on the weekend. Violating rights don't stop on Monday through Friday. So we have to understand that the courts do have a lot of power in this respect. So they filed an emergency application for a temporary restraining order, asking the court to block any removals from the United States. So on that same Saturday, the lawsuit was filed and an emergency hearing was held. So there you go. Court is in session Saturday. And the chief judge, his name is James Bowlesberg, ruled this to be a class action lawsuit and granted the request for a temporary restraining order that covers all non-citizens in U.S. custody who are subject to the March 15, 2025 presidential proclamation. So I'm going to back up a little bit. The president had the proclamation, signed it, drafted up, signed it, what have you. But it didn't become public till kind of the next afternoon. So a lot of this happened really, really fast. So the public probably didn't really realize what was going on until like Saturday afternoon. Even though it was officially on paper on Friday, the public really didn't know till like Saturday afternoon. But the people who were affected caught wind of it in the early morning hours. And so that's why it's so important that our press is protected. It's important that all of the nonprofit organizations, the ones that keeps the government accountable, are protected because they're the ones that have the inside knowledge about what's coming down the pike and about what could potentially have some issues come up. So back to Saturday. So now here's where it gets interesting, equally shocking. I'm now going to read the timeline of events. So just follow with me. So on Saturday evening, the district court Chief Judge James Boasberg, ruling from the bench, ordered that the United States government to turn any planes around headed to El Salvador. So that's where they were taking these alleged Venezuelan gang members to a notorious kind of maximum security prison in that country, or elsewhere with the Venezuelan immigrants on board under the administration's purported invocation of the Aliens Enemies Act. And so that's that law that I said, that wartime law from 1798. But on Sunday, the New York Times reported that the Trump administration has sent hundreds of Venezuelans accused of being gang members to a prison in El Salvador, pushing the limits of U.S. immigration law, seemingly after a federal judge ordered that the deportation flights not to proceed. So here we go. Let's go back to Saturday. So Saturday at 5 p.m., the scheduled hearing starts. So this was the emergency court hearing that was held on Saturday. So Judge Boasberg asked the government attorney whether deportations are imminent in the next 24 to 48 hours. So that's a judge asking the administration point blank, I'm hearing that this is about to happen. Is this about to happen within the next 24 to 48 hours? So the government attorney says he does not know and that he cannot confirm or contest whether that action is happening or not. Now let's talk about that real fast. The president already made his proclamation. He already has his underlings. This is what we're going to do. Everybody's in the know. Whoever needs to be in the know is in the know. And now the government attorney, is in open court saying, oh, I don't know. He didn't say yes or no, but he said, I don't know, which means he probably knew. So the ACLU, which again is another nonprofit that is a civil rights kind of organization, civil liberties organization, attorney tells Judge Boasberg that they're aware the U.S. government is very rapidly moving people in planes to El Salvador. So right now, they're telling, here's the other side who's complaining. They're on behalf of these accused Venezuelan gang members who are in our custody. They're saying, hey, Judge, look, we know what's going on like right now. Like they're pushing people in planes right now. And so before 5:22 p.m., in response, Judge Boasberg orders the hearing to take a break for the government attorney to obtain official information on what's happening to provide to the court when the hearing resumes at 6 o'clock. So the judge says, come back in 40 minutes. Since you don't know, come back in 40 minutes with some official information. So at 5:45, so let's step outside of court. This is before they're going to resume the court hearing at 6 o'clock. This is all happening on Saturday. 5:45 p.m., a flight takes off from Harlingen, Texas for San Salvador, El Salvador. A reporter at the Politico posted some data from FlightAware, which is a website where you can track flights, publicly track flights. And so that was posted on Twitter around 5:45. So let's go back to 6 o'clock. It's 6 o'clock now. The hearing resumes. And so before 6:52 p.m., the judge issues ruling from the bench for the government to turn around any planes carrying non-citizens subject to the Enemy Aliens Act presidential proclamation. So he just made the class action. He just made this a class action lawsuit. It covered anybody who was subject to this presidential proclamation. And he says that for any planes that are in the sky to come back and not to resume any flights. The judge is quoted as saying, any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States. The judge added, this is something you need to make sure is complied with immediately. So you would think, oh man, here's the judicial branch saying, look, chill out, and please stop. It's an order. It's a verbal order, and it from a judge, from the bench. But at 8:02 p.m., and so this is converting to El Salvador Central Standard Time. This purported jet arrives in San Salvador, El Salvador. And so basically, while this was going on, the government was doing what they said they didn't know they were doing and going against the judge's orders, even when there was a plane in the sky. And he was telling them, hey, call that pilot. Tell him to turn that thing around. because this is a government plane that we chartered, the United States chartered. And so this all unfolded in less than 24 hours. So there was another report that referenced 2 flights that at about 6:51 were off the Yucatan Peninsula, according to the flight paths. So inside the White House, officials were discussing whether to order the planes to turn around. And this is from a reporter who had some inside knowledge into what was going on. So on advice from a team of administration lawyers, again, the people that the president put around himself to advise him of these issues, the administration pressed ahead anyway. Of course, Sunday and Monday morning, it was a bit of a, after this incident, it was a lot of the reporters were asking, hey, so did you really just defy a judge's order? And the administration basically said, well, it was a verbal order and it wasn't written yet. And so by the time the order was written, the planes had already landed in the other country. So that's the loose logic, that the administration is using to basically try to skirt around orders and to do whatever they want to do. And so that's I wanted to bring that up in this episode. So you might be asking, well, what can the courts really do here? Or the president can just defy a court order like that? Or can the executive branch really play in the face of the judicial branch like that? Like I said in past episodes, having the ability to do something doesn't make it right. We're really seeing the imbalance of power take place in real time. And so we must be watchful and demand as a citizen that the executive branch be held accountable in our democracy. And so the ballot box is truly the answer. But in the meantime, the courts, we will keep seeing this back and forth with the courts and the administration as they push the limits of their power. The judicial branch is going to have to get pretty creative in how they enforce their orders. So this will be something to watch. But this shows you how fast something like this could happen. What some people will see as an abuse of power. And I told you this happened over the weekend. A lot of things happen, outside of the Monday through Friday kind of schedule here. But that's why it's so important to really cherish the press, really cherish nonprofit organizations, really cherish, public interest attorneys, people that are out there fighting to keep you informed. And, we could, again, just say, man, I didn't vote for this guy. That's not my president, yada, 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 and try to live under a rock for the next 4 years. But a lot could happen in this time frame. As you see, it hasn't even been, 90 days. It's not even been the 100 days yet. Not even the first year yet. Not even the first 6 months yet. We haven't even made it to the summertime yet. And we're already seeing a lot of these antics. So, but we have to stay informed and stay involved. And thank you for listening today to this episode. I hope you would do a little bit more research on how this case turns out. It's still an active case, even though there was a breach of or, them not listening to what the judge said in real time, and there actually being some harm done already by they were non-citizens. You might say, man, they're non-citizens. They're, what kind of rights do they really have here? Or they were in custody already. They were in jail already. Who cares? Or they were gang members, or they say they were gang members. But I think we all should care because it could easily turn on U.S. citizens. It could turn on, they might think you're an immigrant, but you're really a U.S. citizen. We're already seeing that. Get people getting arrested who are really citizens. Or the rounding up of families where there might be some immigrant parents who've been here over time, who came in the country illegally, but who have children who are American citizens. They were born here. They're rounding them all up, sending them all back, with the kids too. But those kids are American citizens, so it could happen to you too, or any variation of just a violation of your civil rights. Because we believe in this country that everybody has rights, no matter where you come from. Of course, if you're doing the right thing, And even if you did the wrong thing, the Constitution protects you from an abuse of government power, or going overboard on punishment or what have you. So this is really important, and I think that we should this case is still the case is still going. The judge will still oversee this case until it gets appealed all the way up, about the invocation of this really old law, this wartime law. Did he invoke this law incorrectly and act? So that's one of the issues here. There's an issue of due process. Did these folks need to have a hearing before they were just immediately deported? So there's a lot of game being played. There's a lot of loose logic being used to further the aims of folks who really don't care. And so, but we have to care. And so when we don't care, when the people don't care, democracy dies. So I encourage everybody to stay informed. And this is Brother Tim with another episode of your Civic Corner.